My wife is the smartest and most put-together person I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, and it baffles me how an angel such as her could settle for a mess like me. And not only did she agree to put up with me for the rest of her life, but she also decided we should have a child. This amazing person who fucking killed it in university and ran her own business that was successful enough to keep more than 24 people comfortable, wanted to procreate with a cunt who barely even finished his GCSEs. It never made sense. But the thing about Sarah is she's a stubborn bitch. Once she's made her mind up about something, it's very hard to talk her out of it. Not that I tried very hard to do so. And while I was busy shitting enough bricks to build us a house too big for us to afford, she planned out every single thing down to the most minute details. Her diet, how she'd exercise, how the birth would go down, what the kids' bloody room would look like. All was decided before the test even came back positive. It was a little emasculating, to be frank. My only job was to bring my dick along, and I'm sure I almost fucked that up. She was kind enough to let me take care of her to the best of my abilities during the pregnancy. With all her planning, she'd forgotten to take into account the human person she'd have in her belly during it all, and the difficulties that had come with it. It truly was one of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced. Feeling that anticipation build over the months until I could barely breathe. Sarah did her best to soothe me, but it felt silly to go whining to her about being nervous when she was the one doing the hard work. But when Elfie was born, all those nerves blinked away, the jumbled puzzle pieces of the world suddenly clicked together to finally form the picture I'd been looking for. Before becoming a father, it was like I'd been standing in one of those halls of mirrors, unable to figure which way was forward, having to rely on Sarah's hand guiding me. But when I held him in my arms for the first time, I was suddenly on a straight open path. The purpose I'd never been able to find for my entire life was suddenly right in front of me. And that feeling even survived him immediately releasing more shit from his arse than I think I'd ever seen before, all down the front of my clothes. Clothes I then had to go home wearing. I'm not going to pretend I was some kind of natural. Fucking things up is my #1 talent, and I was still doing plenty of it. I was permanently exhausted. But I grew up spending entire weeks sleepless while grinding for rare gear in various video games. So, I was trained to resist the weight of fatigue. But I turned out to be pretty damn good at being a dad. I can't take all the credit though. Sarah made sure I'd studied a countless number of books on the subject back to front. But sitting with my son, I'd think back to all those times other parents had warned me. Told me I'd resent the lack of sleep, that I'd be miserable for at least first few months if not years. But none of that turned out to be true. I was unbothered by all of that shit. I had my son, nothing else mattered. My wife had a harder time. She learned quickly that being a mother isn't like running a company. That the primary directive of all children is to shatter any and every plan their parents concoct. With all her research and preparation with the physical side, I don't think she ever guessed the kind of toll giving birth would take on her mental health. Some days she couldn't even get herself out of bed. Feeling tired all the time, she couldn't work. I love Sarah, but if there's one thing she's terrible at, it's sitting still. So, while trying to recover from having her insides ripped out, she was beating herself up for resting instead of single-handedly holding up the sky. I often found myself holding her, telling her she was a good mom, reminding her how badass she was while she felt like she was failing. It broke my heart to see my smart, confident wife crumble apart like that. I felt so fucking useless not knowing the right words to say. Though, and it shames me to admit to it, it felt good to be the one comforting her for once, even if I was shite at it. My mother suggested that maybe Sarah was suffering from some kind of postpartum depression. She explained what it was, telling me about how she'd gone through something similar after I was born. I managed to convince my wife to start seeing a shrink, which helped. She still had her moments, but the color was returning to her and she was able to get out of bed more, even leave the house. One day, when Elfie was about a month and a half old, she came home from a day out with him looking on the verge of a breakdown. I asked what was wrong and she practically collapsed into my arms. I almost lost him. She whimpered into me. After calming her down and putting Elfie to bed, I got the full story from her. She took her eyes off him. It was a tiny, insignificant amount of time that turned out to be a travesty. She'd stepped away for maybe a minute to quickly grab something, and when she returned, he was gone. A frantic few minutes proceeded where she searched desperately, eventually finding him still in his pram not too far away. I soothed her as she cried, telling her that one mistake didn't mean she had failed as a mother. But part of me thinks she never forgave herself for it. The story didn't quite sit right with me, with the pram rolling off all by itself. But I didn't want to interrogate her too much. My son was fine. That was what mattered. I just assumed the wheels on the pram hadn't locked or something. Maybe the wind blew or something had bumped it. But now I know the truth, that was when it happened. That was the moment my life began to fall apart. For next part, please follow.